right, it's not necessarily a dive, it's more of we're sticking our little toesies in there. I never did a lore video before, so I don't know how many people are interested. I don't know how fun it would, I don't know. We just finished Gravity Falls recently, and there's supposedly a lot of good lore videos out there, so I just picked one from the film theorists. You know, the game theory guy. So I picked one little Gravity Falls lore video out of that, and if you guys like this, if you want more of this, if you want more Gravity Falls lore, if you want other lore to look into, I'll be into it. But to be fair, I want to look into lore that I've like gone through. So we just finished chapter 2 of Deltarune. I haven't done FNAF yet, so we're not doing that one yet, but it's on the list. So ideally, I want to do these things and then watch a lore video, and I think that'd be really fun. You know, because it's kind of a mix of experiencing something then kind of learning more about it. I think it's a really fun little way that I guess we get to do content, right? It's also a fun way to mix my gaming channel with my reaction channel, so I guess it's a little bit of both. I'm ready. Let's get into it. Hi, how's it going? Check out this thing. Greatly appreciate it. Consider liking, commenting, and subscribing on the push to 100K. Hey! 100K, baby. All right, I'm trying my best here. This is the film theory Bill Cipher is alive, and I found him. That's fucking nuts, actually, because we saw that bitch die. Not in our arms, I guess, necessarily, but in the brain. So I guess let's see. I really don't know what to expect. I just hope you guys like this. Anyway.
He broke childhoods just a little by solving each and every riddle. But as his tenure reaches end, brains will break and minds will bend.
Oh.
As we answer one last query with a final crazy theory.
That's actually cute. Excuse the fuck
Hello,
out of me.
Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that knows that
When there's no cops around, anything's legal.
today, after 6
Fair.
long years, we're finally jumping back into the wild world of Gravity Falls.
6 years is crazy. I keep forgetting the timeline of the show. You know, we just finished this shit, and people are like, hey, this has been out for like a decade or some shit. I'm like, I'm a little late to the game, but still thoroughly enjoyed it. Still holds up decently well.
In case you don't know, Gravity Falls was a Disney series all about the twins Dipper and Mabel Pines, who are sent to spend the summer with their great uncle Stan at the town of Gravity Falls, Oregon. However, things are strange in this neighborhood. There are cryptids in the woods, codes to crack, mysteries to unravel. By the end of the series, Dipper, Mabel, and all their friends are facing off against the malevolent Bill Cipher, a universe-hopping demon from the second dimension who possesses godlike powers and wants to take over the three-dimensional world. Every element of this show was awesome.
Yeah.
It is without question my single favorite animated series of all time. And
It is very good for being a Disney show. Like, it's interesting because like there are great shows. Like I enjoyed like Courage the Cowardly Dog, Dexter's Laboratory, Cat Dog. There's like a lot of great like animations, like and they're entertaining, but they didn't have this kind of deeper lore that like some of these other shows that like have been sneaking up on me do. You know what I mean? Like Gravity Falls is like in the beginning it's a nice, delightful, like lighthearted show, and then like they just kind of trickle in the myths, and then they beautifully tie that shit in, you know, and add in more of that mystery and the depth and like the returning characters, and God, it's just like the layers that like I can't tell if it's just the way they created the shit, like the specifically the creator, or like why they don't do more of the shit in general, you know? Because it seems like a lot of people like this kind of content.
honestly, it was the pioneer in getting a fan base to start theorizing about your show. I mean, there are many kids' cartoons out there that have every episode start with whispered backwards text or end with a coded message buried in the credits. The show's creator, Alex Hirsch, was just way ahead of his time on that one. And not only is he a talented creator, he's also just a really awesome guy. He actually came out to our final charity live stream a few years ago to help us raise money for childhood cancer.
That's so cute. Oh, I love that.
Cancer research at St. Jude. Little did he suspect that I was going to be putting him through his paces.
Is Bill Cipher still alive?
I mean, fictional characters exist in a liminal space between alive and dead, conjured up by our attention and our imagination.
Well played, Alex.
Yep.
Well played. By the way, Alex, if you do wind up watching this at some point, just know that I really appreciated you being there. I was locked into the show that day, so I didn't get a chance to actually thank you in person after the segment.
I kind of forgot he does this, what do we call this exactly? This, like, is it PNG tubing, technically? Was Matt Pat, like, a VTuber, technically? With, like, using images to kind of portray his personality and his, like, emotions and stuff? It's not quite, but it's not far off. You know what I mean? And I kind of, like, it's a very, very interesting idea, especially for people that don't want to be on camera, but, like, don't mind, like, having their pictures or whatever. Like, honestly, I never thought about how good of an idea this type of storytelling is. Sorry, I know it's not necessarily Gravity. It's just content creator appreciating a way someone else does stuff.
So sorry for that. And honestly, it's one of my biggest regrets from the past decade of content creation. Thank you for being so generous with your time and for all you were willing to do that day. Oh, also, my friend Ryder was there. He has a channel, Foot of a Ferret. He covers your work a lot. He's another huge fan that didn't get to say hi because he was busy helping me behind the scenes with all the music stuff for the show. Ryder, this is your chance. Say hi to Alex.
Hello, Alex Hirsch. Goodbye.
He was also the voice of our Bill Cipher in the cold open, by the way. Anyway, enough making amends for the sins of the past. Back to Gravity Falls. Why am I talking about it now, 8 years after the show ended? Well, outside of it being just important to the history of the channel, theorizing in general, and just being a personal fave of mine, the real reason, if I'm being honest, is that it's Ollie's current favorite show right now. He adores it, which is awesome, because it means I get to watch it all over again. Each night he gets a half hour of TV time, and I kid you not, we have watched this scene like 100 times. Ollie's life goal is to now build mech suits out of garbage. Over on Style Theory, I briefly mentioned that Ollie wanted to go as a haunted convenience store for this past Halloween. It was from Gravity Falls, Season 1, Episode 5, The Inconveniencing.
I remember
Let me tell you, rewatching Gravity Falls with Ollie has really reignited my love for the series.
I'm sure that rewatching, maybe that's why you guys also enjoyed the reactions as well, because like I'm sure this is one of the shows that like once you rewatch it, you get to pick up shit like on the second, third, fourth watch, you get to see other things. You see little like details, things that you didn't realize that were like the Blendon Blandon. I remember people commenting about that they didn't notice that the first few times that they were just in the background, and I'm like, that's fucking nuts. So like I'm sure it's nice that, especially like depending on what kind of content creator that you like, but we like to pause and we like to look like, what the fuck was that? And so we go back and then you see this kind of shit, you know. And for me, I don't know what the fuck's going on, but for you guys, it's like, hey, look at it's just a fun little thing, you know what I mean? It's beauty in the details.
Always wanted to be able to come back to it in some way, but never could find the right angle to attack it with. I mean, this is a show that was built by theorists for theorists. All the scraps of clues have been picked clean. Didn't really feel like there was a lot of new ground that I could cover. At least, that's what I thought. Until I discovered the Blacklight edition of Journal 3. In case you don't know, within the story of Gravity Falls, Journal 3 is a collection of all the weird, paranormal, supernatural things that are living in and around the town of Gravity Falls. It is a massive part of the show's main plot. However, as we learn midway through the show, a great deal of the content inside the journal is written in invisible ink, which can only be read via blacklight. Now, after Gravity Falls ended, Disney released a real-world version of Journal 3 with a...
That, honestly, like, that's a crazy and honestly a very smart push from them, because like if you find these shows that have these like very tight and passionate communities, like having a book like this, even if it didn't open, I feel like a lot of people would have liked just a physical book to just leave on a shelf or something. But like having it with the actual details and stuff, oh my God. I'm sure people lost their fucking minds. I remember when I was talking about getting one of these, I think people were saying it's not that easy to get anymore, or maybe they're sold out or some shit like that. So like, honestly, it was a very good idea.
With a ton of extra information about the show and its lore. But fans were disappointed that none of the blacklight details were actually included in that final release. Enough so that a year later, Disney released another version of it with those secrets printed inside.
That's fucking crazy. Let's just sell them 2 books. Let's just sell them the regular book first and make them demand the second book, and then let's just sell them the second book anyway. That's crazy.
Only 10,000 copies of this book were ever made. So
that's crazier. What the fuck? This had to be fucking... I never heard about that. That's nuts. Oh my God. I'm sure people lost their minds. I wonder how much some of these copies went for. Only 10,000 copies? That's crazy to me.
So this was a super exclusive piece of merchandise that only the most passionate Gravity Falls fans were able to get their 6-fingered hands on. Sadly, I was not one of them. But thankfully, this fandom is full of generous individuals that just want to share their knowledge. And thanks to Tumblr user 4darkisthesuede, we can all take a look at what exactly is inside of this thing. And
that's so cute. Look, cute community. Boop. Adorable, dude. That's, I mean, I feel like if I got a book and like there was a pretty big YouTuber that like was big into this shit, I feel like I wouldn't mind letting him that kind of crap too, you know, because it's like, hey, I mean, unless he really didn't care about the book, it's like, hey, you could just have this thing. It's like, I'd do your thing, right? But like, he's like, hey, if you could just send it back whenever you're done, you know, take your time with it, of course, whatever, just send it back whenever. I'm sure that there's no problem with that whatsoever. That's so cute.
Boy, let me tell ya, did this thing add a lot to the lore of Gravity Falls. Not only that, but I believe that it also cracks open a brand new mystery that's just aching to be solved. You see, my friends, the Blacklight edition of Journal 3 sent me down a rabbit hole that led me to only one conclusion. Alex Hirsch, creator of Gravity Falls, he is Bill Cipher. Or rather, he's possessed by Bill Cipher in the real world, just like what we saw happen with characters like Dipper, Ford, and Stan in the series. And not only is he possessed, Alex is aware of that possession and is actively fighting against Bill's influence in a way that you would never expect. Theorists, shake my hand. It's time to make a deal. So let's just get on the same page about what's actually in the Blacklight edition of Journal 3. We learn a ton of lore about a lot of different corners of this universe. For instance, we learn a lot more about Gnome Society, including a code that reveals Shmebulok's true deep thoughts. There are
What? That's fucking crazy. Are we gonna go into that? I guess we're only 5 minutes in. We just got through the intros and stuff, and at the, you know, the stuff you gotta do. You gotta talk about. You gotta ease people into it. You gotta do a little bit of play before you get into business.
There are secret messages hidden in cow spots. There's a whole page comparing the Gravity Falls characters to tarot cards. Seems like a short that Lee should look into at some point.
That's
I mean,
cute.
I could go on and on about this thing. There are literally hundreds of pages of new information. But for a bit of a deep, relevant example here, on the page titled A Bit of History, the Blacklight reveals that Bill Cipher has had a hand in shaping human civilization throughout all of time. He tricked the ancient Egyptians into building a portal to a nightmare realm that led a jackal-headed man onto Earth, thus giving us Anubis. Afterwards, he had the Egyptians build the pyramids as a tribute to him. Much later on, Bill helped George Washington defeat the British during the American Revolution, but also gave him such bad nightmares in the process that he ground his teeth to dust in his sleep. That's why Washington had to get him replaced with wooden teeth. You know the Eye of Providence on—
That's crazy. I'm sure this shit had to be really fun to make. Dude, I see, like, this is the fun deep dive shit that can happen, right? Especially with this kind of show in general. It's just, like, having so much, like, flexibility with, like, the timeline of having characters that can time travel, can have had their, like, mark, and you can have actual history and, like, events correlate to, like, this character's design, which kind of adds more, like, you know, into the actual, like, story. It's just, it's very cool, and I think it just adds another layer of authenticity or, like, quality to, you know, like, what you're making.
On the dollar bill, that pyramid with the eyeball, Washington apparently put it on the dollar in an attempt to appease Bill. Dollar bill, you get it? We even learned that Bill helped Stanley Kubrick—
Shut the fuck up. Shut the fuck up. No fucking way. I'm not even gonna discuss that. That's crazy.
fake the moon landing in the hopes that NASA would help Bill build a portal, implying that humans have never actually been to the moon in the Gravity Falls universe. It's pretty crazy, right? But one of the biggest additions from the Blacklight sections, and the thing that started me down this rabbit hole in the first place, is actually on the book's blank pages. See, though the majority of the secret invisible notes in the book are written by Ford, there are a handful of contributions from other characters: Seuss, Mabel, Dipper, but most disturbingly of all, there's also notes written by old Isosceles himself, Bill Cipher. And they're all over these blank pages. On them, he gives a sort of pitch to the reader to help Bill out, telling him to say the words Bill Cipher 3 times so that he can enter your mind. Basically, it's Bill making a Beetlejuice reference. However, more interestingly, Bill subtly explains exactly how he's writing in this book. He says, quote, 6 fingers just conked out, and that means Captain Bill is steering the ship. And later again, Sixer's about to wake up, which means that Bill is able to puppeteer Ford's body while he's asleep. So what if he were actually able to do that with Alex Hirsch out here in the real world? Now, obviously, that would be a weird logical leap for me to make. Like, why would I assume that Bill's possessing the creator of the series? Well, despite the whole book being in-universe with Gravity Falls, there is one place where Alex Hirsch winds up writing as himself, the book's foreword, where he explains what exactly the book is, that there are only 10,000 copies, that it's the most show-accurate version of Journal 3, and explicitly telling readers about the Blacklight secrets. But the thing that really stuck out to me, if you lift up this picture of Hirsch on the page and shine a blacklight onto it, you get a little message from Bill himself. In fact, if you compare this to handwriting from Bill elsewhere in the book, it is exactly the same. Bill definitely wrote this, and he lets us know that Bill was here. And while you could assume that this is just him telling us that he's here in the journal writing notes, notice the placement of Bill's message. Bill's note isn't on the journal pages, like it will be throughout the rest of the journal. It is on the paper of Alex's note, the one he wrote the foreword on. What this proves is that Bill is alive and kicking and messing with Alex's stuff after Alex has written it. And the placement behind Alex's picture certainly seems like it's implying that he's here, as in here inside of Alex Hirsch's head.
That's
and the
cute.
more I looked into it, the more I could tell that all of this was intentional. The finale of the show is broken up into a huge multi-part story arc called
I'm so interested in more about the stuff that's in the book too. Like this is definitely an interesting theory too, but like I hope in some of the other videos, and if you guys are excited to watch that kind of stuff or have me react to that, please let me know in the comments, or if there's a specific video of the playlist or whatever it is. I more want to do a test to make sure who would be interested in this kind of thing. Please let me know, because I would love more of a deep dive, or like people that go through like the actual book and just learn about more of the stuff that actually happens as well.
Weirdmageddon, where Bill takes over the town. For all of these episodes, the show's usual intro sequence is replaced with a new one starring Bill and all his monster friends.
Right.
And would you know it, but in all of these intros, the title card that's supposed to read created by Alex Hirsch is actually replaced with created by Bill Cipher.
Right, we caught that.
Another Gravity Falls novel, the upcoming Book of Bill. Now, I am really excited about this release. I was actually pretty sad that it wasn't coming out in time for me to cover on the channel, but hey, that gives Lee something to talk about when he takes over.
What? Is this book out? What the fuck is that gonna entail?
Takes over. Regardless, what's the deal with this book? Well, officially, Alex Hirsch is credited as the author, and that makes sense, right? He's the one who wrote it. But the whole gimmick of the book is that it's written in the voice and from the point of view of Bill Cipher himself.
Okay.
Now, you might think that this is just a simple case of writing in character, but if you go to the Book of Bill's official page on its publisher Penguin Random House's website, you'll find some clues suggesting that there might be something more here. The official author blurb describing Alex Hirsch reads as follows, quote, "Despite the rumors, he was not possessed by a demon while writing this book. We repeat, not demonically possessed." Seems like something sus that they're really trying to drive home there. I don't know about you, but to me, the author doth protest too much, methinks. But perhaps the biggest clue of all of this is the fact that we've actually seen Alex Hirsch possessed by Bill already. All the way back in 2015, while Gravity Falls was still on the air, Hirsch was scheduled to do a Reddit Ask Me Anything. And yet, when he was asked about it on Twitter, Hirsch denied that he was doing anything. He made it very clear that he was meant to be asleep at the scheduled time. So when the time for the AMA rolled around, the AMA did happen, but it was with Bill Cipher. And at the end of the AMA, Bill outright confirms that he's taking control of Hirsch to do the AMA in the first place, using Hirsch's body to clickety-clack away at the keyboard while Hirsch slept. Just like
That's actually a really cute idea for an Ask Me Anything, though, especially with this kind of community too, that like is really like that loves the vibe of the entire show and loves the lore and like the deep stuff. Like having that as the idea for an Ask Me Anything is just genius. Honestly, brilliant idea, dude, because like honestly people like would want to ask Bill like anything, and Bill would probably have like the sassy remarks. I'm sure people would love like this like the crazier comments and the weird stories and shit that he would. Honestly, I'm sure that was fantastic.
Like he did with Ford writing notes in the Blacklight Journal 3. Quote from the end of the AMA, "Well, looks like the kid's REM cycle is about to end, so I should make like a pine tree and burn to the ground." And if you think that Bill wouldn't want to materialize in our world, well, you'd be wrong. Bill's entire shtick is that he's tired of being two-dimensional. He says as much in Weirdmageddon Part 3.
"You think those chains are tight? Imagine living in the second dimension. Flat minds in a flat world with flat dreams."
And the first thing he does in Weirdmageddon once he escapes his two-dimensional prison is take a three-dimensional physical form. Basically showing off just how many different surfaces he can have.
Oh, it's happening! It's finally happening!
Oh, I forgot about the gross muscle thing.
Physical form? Don't mind if I do!
What do you think Bill would do if he ever realized that Gravity Falls was, in fact, a two-dimensional world? A cartoon created by real people who live in a three-dimensional space. He'd probably want to get to that world and take that one over, which is exactly what we see him doing through Alex. But before we dive further into the Bill Cipher conspiracy, I want to take a minute to thank the sponsor of today's video, Rocket Money. True story, friends. With this job, we have to get a lot of different streaming services in order to stay up to date with everything. And with all those different subscriptions floating around, things tend to get lost in the shuffle. For instance, last month I discovered that I've been paying for 2 subscriptions to Max on the same email.
That is a problem, all right? To be fair, even though this is an ad, this shit happens constantly. I was paying for, God, Adobe, the Adobe software for I was paying 2 different subscriptions for a year, and it was not nice. And then I was like, hey, I accidentally have been paying 2 subscriptions. I've only been using the one. Is there anything you could do? They're like, nope. I'm like, well, no longer paying for your stuff, so I'm not using your editor anymore. So, fuck you. So, it happens, so definitely double check your subscriptions.
One was for an ancient subscription that I've had since the streamer started, and the other was through Amazon Prime. And you know how I found out about these double charges? Rocket Money. They're a personal finance app that can scan through all your purchases and then let you know exactly what you're paying for each and every month. It can easily identify if you're paying for any recurring subscriptions and
That's so crazy, though. Netflix is $20. They're all like 20. That's crazy to me. Well, good thing we have other means of entertainment. Or other means of getting said entertainment. Or other means of watching other things besides the things that are on those things.
compiles them all in one place so you can easily see what you're paying for, and more importantly, decide if you want to stop paying for them. Best of all, you can safely and securely cancel any unwanted subscriptions in the Rocket Money app
That's
itself.
crazy.
No more sitting on the phone in unwanted service calls feeling like you're trying to get out of a deal with Bill Cipher. Just
Fair.
a couple of taps and bam, subscription canceled. Just from cutting that extra max subscription, Rocket Money helped me save hundreds of dollars this year. In fact, they've
I'm telling you. All right. Again, like, I'm not being sponsored by these guys, but I don't mind watching his thing because, hey, he made this video. He deserves the money. He deserves all this. Okay. So, anyway, my original idea. It definitely at least do this once, even once a year. Just have your shit checked, even just for your own sake, because having one of those subscriptions, one of those $20 subscriptions that you don't know about, that's 200 something bucks minimum. You know how it's probably $240, but you get it. It's still a good chunk of money that you probably would not even be using nor miss. So think about just trying this one, or just in general, just going through your finances. All right. This is a personal shout out for you guys. Get your own shit checked out just in case.
already helped to cancel over $500 million in subscription services, with the
That's
average customer actually
crazy.
saving $740 a year. Yeah, I was blown away by that number too. If you want to get started with Rocket Money for free, go check it out by heading to rocketmoney.com/filmtheorists. That's rocketmoney.com/FILMTHEORISTS, or, just save yourself the hassle and click the link in the top line of the description because it is so
The spelling of it is more gonna throw me off than anything.
much easier. One last thank you to Rocket Money for sponsoring today's episode. Now let's get back to unraveling the mystery of Bill Cipher. Lee, take it away.
Back in 2016, when Weirdmageddon first aired, after the end credits, people noticed a picture of a real-life Bill Cipher statue flash on screen, followed by some random numbers.
Are you saying there's actually a statue up there somewhere?
Now, you theorists probably recognize this as a series of codes encrypted with ciphers, and
Sure.
at the time, Gravity Falls fans recognized it too. And thus began the Gravity Falls ARG known as the Cipher Hunt. Basically, this was a giant scavenger hunt set up by Hirsch to help keep interest in Gravity Falls alive and give fans a big send-off before Disney decided to continue the series through comics and books.
What? Really? I mean, does it take place like before all that? Like, is this afterwards anyway? I guess it's meant to continue on, but like, how important are these comics to the story and all that shit?
Books. It was very long and very in-depth, with cryptograms and hidden codes, encouraging people to go to real-world locations in Los Angeles, Atlanta, Japan, and Russia, and
Really?
even featuring real phone calls with Grunkle Stan.
Hello, it's Grunkle Stan, and I have a riddle for you. What has 2 legs during the day?
What the is that the fucking, oh my god, what the hell is that show? X-Files? Is that the X-Files sound in the background?
4 legs during the night, and it's red and white. I don't know. I'm no good at this riddle.
By the end of it, hunters were led to that real-life statue of Bill Cipher hidden in the woods.
That's
with
crazy.
Messages from Grunkle Stan encouraging them to shake Bill's hand. Shaking hands, of course, is Bill's primary way of making binding agreements and entering the minds of his marks.
Right.
But here's the cool thing. Buried beside the Bill Cipher statue was a box containing several prizes, so to speak.
Really?
Some were just fun, like plastic coins and gems, a signed sketch, and a sash that read Mayor of Gravity Falls.
Cute.
That sort of thing. But two of the most interesting ones, there was a copy of Journal 3 and a blacklight. Doesn't that sound familiar? Yeah, though this wasn't one of the super exclusive 10,000 copies made, this was using the same idea. Inside this copy of Journal 3 was a sketch by Hirsch himself of Grunkle Stan, Seuss, and Old Man McGucket. But when the blacklight was shined on the page, it revealed another sketch of Bill himself, telling the reader to stay paranoid. A secret drawing of Bill hidden in a special copy of Journal 3 buried under a statue of Bill himself. That's very similar to what
I understand where you're coming from now. Okay. No, I get it. I understand. Because at first I'm like, what are we doing here? All right, what's the plan here? What is he gonna do to us? Or if he is alive, right? Well, that's the whole thing here. But like the fact that there is a statue, which is cute, and the fact that you're like keeping that character like, I guess, mentally relevant or present, whatever we want to use there in the current time, like time for in our universe as well. It's just really cute for the lore community.
we see with the special blacklight version of Journal 3 that started us down this rabbit hole to begin with.
Right.
But here's why all of this matters. I want you to go back and watch Weird Mageddon again. When Stan shakes Bill's hand, Bill turns into a statue as his astral form exits the Bill Cipher body to enter Stan's body. And that statue is in the exact same position that we see in the show after he shakes his hand. Now, the clear implication here is that this is supposed to be the same statue from the very end of the show. But what if it's another statue? One made after Bill escaped. One made after he's made another deal to go into someone else's head. A deal made with Alex Hirsch. First of all, we know that Bill probably escaped at the end of Weird Mageddon. When the gang finally does defeat Bill, this happens. Clearly this audio is backwards. If you reverse it, it says this.
What the fuck are you talking about?
He's making a deal with the all-powerful Axolotl to be able to come back in some other dimension. And we know that he's likely popping around other universes now, since he's visible in other franchises like Rick and Morty, Big City Greens, The Owl House, DuckTales,
What the fuck?
even The Simpsons.
Buy crypto, suckers!
And that's canon, by the way, as confirmed by Alex Hirsch himself via our live stream.
Is Bill Cipher now officially connected into the Simpsons canon because he appeared in one of the Simpsons intros recently, yes?
Yeah, I can confirm that. Bill Cipher is Simpsons canon.
So what's to stop him from
What the fuck happened on this live stream?
hopping on over to our universe at this point? And if there's a Bill Cipher statue here now in our world, then that likely means that someone else must have shaken Bill's hand to have him end up here. Someone who isn't a fictional character in our universe. Someone real. Someone like Alex Hirsch. So all of this really makes for a fun meta storyline for the Gravity Falls fandom. Bill Cipher was always a character who could pop between universes, and so it's fun to imagine that our universe might be one that he jumps into. But why should we care about this? So what if Bill is taking control of dear old Alex Hirsch's head? Well, for one, it means that you should really be careful the next time you shake Alex's hand at a meet and greet. But more importantly, it shows that the battle against Bill, it ain't done. In fact,
Honestly, I think we can use a little bit of Bill chaos in this world right now. All right, I think things are pretty spicy currently. I think we can use a little bit more spice. You know, I think we double down, and then it balances out at some point, right? It's kind of like that same situation where, like, if someone's like freaking out and lose their minds or like unstable, if you're more unstable, more losing your mind, they'll be like, hey, all right, maybe we fucking chill out a little bit. And I think that's kind of what we need right now.
I think the battle's been ongoing without any of us even realizing it. The reason we haven't all been doomed by a new pyramid-shaped overlord taking over our sad reality, just like Dipper, Ford, and Stan, Alex Hirsch ain't letting Bill win without a fight. In fact, he's doing his best to banish Bill forever. And not using a memory gun. Nope, he's using his own career. But to understand how, we first have to talk about what was probably the single biggest mystery of this entire show, the Bill Cipher Zodiac. Watching the series, this thing was everywhere. It is teased in literally every episode. By the end of the series, they've set this thing up as a prophecy explaining the one true way to banish Bill Cipher once and for all. It is by fulfilling the symbols all around this zodiac. Each symbol aligns with a certain character, 10 in total, and they have to team up to defeat Bill once and for all during Weird Mageddon. And yet in the end, this zodiac, it doesn't pay off. After all the buildup and the teases, the zodiac doesn't actually work because Ford and Stan refuse to hold hands.
That's fair. That's fair. I didn't think about that either. We kind of did things a little bit of a different way.
Stanley, get over here. You're the only one left.
I remember this part. This was kind of painful. He was like, this is what you mean. I'm like, ooh.
Between me and him, I'm not always the bad twin. Between him
and me.
Grammar, Stanley. Oh, Grammar, Stanley, you!
That's
So
so
basically,
fucked.
Alex Hirsch creates this huge thing, sets up this massive Chekhov's gun, and it never gets used. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the way that this show ends, but it always felt odd to me that this Zodiac just wound up being a massive misdirect. Now though, I think I finally understand. While I was putting together this episode, I began to realize more and more that these symbols looked familiar. Not because they were in Gravity Falls, but because they correspond with other projects that Alex Hirsch has worked on over the years. The six-fingered handprint, it's obviously referencing Gravity Falls itself, but the shooting star, for instance, well, that lines up perfectly with Kid Cosmic, a show about—
Does it? The fuck? Oh, so you think all these things are going to be shows he has to make or be a part of, and then once he finishes them, okay, that's kind of cute.
about a kid who gets superpowers from cosmic stones of power crash landing near his house. Hirsch worked as a writer on 2 of the stories for that series. The question mark? Well, that could point to a few of Hirsch's projects, but the one that it most perfectly slots in with is the conspiracy comedy show Inside Job, which Hirsch co-produced, wrote for, and acted in. Then, of course, you have The Pentagram, which seems fitting for Hirsch's work on The Owl House, a story all about witches and demons. He not only worked as a creative consultant for that series, but he also voiced Hootie and King, the self-proclaimed king of demons. Speaking of his work as a creative consultant, the glasses, they look a lot like the signature eyewear worn by the Mitchell family in Netflix's Mitchells vs. the Machines, a film where Hirsch was a story consultant.
Dude, what the fuck? How is he doing all this shit? Aren't you exhausted, dude? Give yourself a break. Holy shit. Oh my god. I mean, you don't even look that, you look like you're my age. How the fuck are you doing so much at once?
And voiced the character of Dirk. What about Dipper's iconic tree symbol?
Right.
Well, I believe that this lines up with yet another Disney series, Amphibia, which
I think people would tell me to watch that too.
is set in a marshland covered in trees. The characters live in a giant tree. The wood aesthetic is even carried through in almost every episode with the title cards. Hirsch was given a special thanks in the episode The Hardest Thing, and also voiced a couple of roles in the episode Wax Museum, which, go figure, happens to be an episode paying homage to Gravity Falls.
That's so funny.
Hands off the merchandise! The old mistaken for a grotesque lifeless being. Works every time!
That's actually
And what about
adorable.
the heart symbol with the crack and stitches in it? Well, this lines up fairly well with Hirsch's first ever writing and storytelling.
That was your first ever? Oh, I love the fucking Flapjack. Oh, it was a great show. Great show.
Gig, working on the show Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Here, he co-wrote and storyboarded the episode Gone Wishin', the story of which revolves around Captain Knuckles physically stealing and then breaking the heart of a mermaid. A heart that literally cracks in half. It's almost so specific it lines up perfectly. So that covers us for 7.
That's so interesting. What the fuck? And that's why, like, I guess that's why they didn't actually end up, well, not why, but I guess they could have done other story stuff, whatever. Like, it doesn't have to exactly line up. But, like, technically, this, I don't know if it's the true theory, but it's pretty good. I mean, it's a pretty good lineup.
And from this point forward, the comparisons start getting a little bit weird. It's likely that many of these are symbols that are going to be coming down the pipeline for Alex,
Sure.
But then again, remember what they said in the show.
The symbols needn't all be literal, Dipper.
So with that in mind, and by expanding our horizons a bit, we can find matches for at least 2 more of these final symbols. For instance, the oyster symbol here. Prior to working on Gravity Falls, Hirsch was a key creative in another Disney series called Fish Hooks, a show set inside of a giant fish tank where you'd presumably be able to find similarly shaped shells. As far as the ice, if we really wanted to stretch things here, the ice cubes could represent the Super Mario Brothers movie, on which Hirsch is given special thanks. There were rumors that Hirsch was originally attached to write and direct the whole thing before departing due to creative differences. Regardless, the Mario movie, of course, opens in the icy Snow Kingdom, where Bowser defeats an army of penguins and steals a super.
It's not that much of a stretch. It's not the main focus or anything, or like a heavy. But yeah, you know, that makes sense too. But it could be other stuff down the line. That makes sense.
Star. Like I said, that is a pretty big reach. It could also be that one just hasn't happened yet in Hirsch's career. And finally, there's the llama. That one is weird and oddly specific. And again, I haven't found a strong match for it. But I will say that I expect the llama to be representative of the last project on this Alex Hirsch Zodiac, since Pacifica is the last one to join the Zodiac in Gravity Falls. And once the...
That's fucking weird. That's crazy. Dude, this is very interesting. We didn't hit like major like actual deep lore in this one, but it's still like a very fun thing to revisit, you know? And it kind of gets us thinking about other portions of the story. So like, even though it may not be the deepest dive we got into, I think it was still a pretty good time, and it still saves us. Hey, if we wanted to do another deep dive of another video of his, or it's another video that's out there that did it really well, we still have something else to go through, you know?
Those final projects hit, Hirsch will have done what he set out to do from the start of his career, and Bill Cipher will be banished once and for all. Now, just between you and me, I recognize this is completely fictional. Is Alex Hirsch actually battling an interdimensional pyramid demon with cartoons he's making in the Hollywood studio system? No, obviously not. But I can confidently say that Alex Hirsch, he is absolutely the sort of person who would seed this idea into his works, no matter how absurd or esoteric it might be. Gravity Falls first premiered in 2012, right around the time that I started making Theorist content here on YouTube in 2011.
Wow.
I can tell you, at the time, theorizing, it just wasn't really a genre of entertainment. Sure, there were some fans out there who got really passionate about the niche interests that they loved, but as a wide-reaching pop cultural trend,
that's fair.
It wasn't the same. Shows weren't built with theorizing in mind like they are today, with every trailer, website, and Easter egg tailor-made for a 15-
We were just talking about this earlier.
minute analytical deep dive about its implications. But shows like Gravity Falls, they came around and they changed that. Alex Hirsch is a theorist through and through, building a show with hidden secrets and lore and mysteries that he let the viewers decode code on their own. As
Yep.
someone who's thrived off of all of that, both in my professional and more importantly, my personal life, I can't tell you how much I respect that and how much it means to me. So Alex, thank you. Not only for coming onto a live stream a couple years ago, but for helping to inspire
so cute.
a beautiful community of theorists. And hey, if you ever need any help defeating Bill, well, I've never dressed up as a llama, but there's certainly a first time for everything. But hey, that's just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
That was really cute. I actually like this a lot. Again, like, we have a little bit more room to figure out exactly what was in these books and like all the little stuff within the episodes and stuff. So I wasn't really sure on where to start with this, but I feel like, hey, we'll just pick one that people seemed like they enjoyed in the film theories, because I know at least they do at least some kind of deep dive. So I just kind of picked one at random. But if you guys want to keep going down this rabbit hole, I would absolutely love to.